David's phone buzzes at a chaotic construction site. A photo from his girlfriend Lily, cozying up to her ex at their dinner table, with a taunting caption. Guess who stopped by? Miss when you look this good? Stunned, David decides not to react yet. Back home, he swaps the locks, packs her things, and sets a 30-day deadline. But when Lily shows up drunk, pounding on the door, will David hold his ground or cave to her pleas? David's boots crunched on the gravel of a Miami construction site, the midday sun beating down as he hauled a slab of marble for a client's kitchen island. His phone buzzed in his pocket, but he ignored it, focusing on the precise cut needed to meet the homeowner's latest whim. A contractor at 32, David had built a reputation for transforming outdated homes into sleek masterpieces. His condo, bought with years of sweat, stood as proof of his grind. But today, that buzz wasn't a client. It was trouble. 3 years ago, David's life lit up at a friend's birthday bash on South Beach. The ocean roared nearby, and laughter spilled from a bonfire. Lily, a dental assistant with a quick wit, caught his eye as she danced barefoot in the sand, juggling a margarita and a story about her worst patient. David, usually reserved, found himself drawn in, offering her a taco from the food truck. Her laugh, sharp, genuine, hooked him. They swapped numbers, and by sunrise, they were texting plans for coffee. Their connection ignited fast. Late-night drives down Ocean Drive, sharing empanadas at hole-in-the-wall spots, and dreaming about flipping houses together fueled their first months. Lily's energy was magnetic. She could charm anyone, from waiters to David's gruff subcontractors. After a year, David invited her to move into his condo. She said yes, hauling in boxes of plants and quirky art, claiming half the closet. To David, it felt right. Her toothbrush next to his, her sneakers by the door. They were a team, or so he thought. But Lily's spark came with a shadow. She thrived on attention, and David's job didn't bend to her rhythm. High-end renovations meant late nights, last-minute changes, and weekends spent sanding floors. A client's demand for custom cabinets could stretch a 2-week job into a month. Lily, locked in her 9 to 5 at a dental office, started to bristle. You're married to your work, she'd snap after he missed another dinner. David brushed it off, citing bills and ambition. The mortgage wasn't cheap, and he carried a loan. Lily chipped in for groceries and utilities, but the condo was his, bought before her laugh ever lit up his life. Tension simmered. Lily's complaints grew sharper, petty jabs like forgetting his favorite coffee at the store or planning girls' nights without a heads up. David swallowed his frustration, chalking it up to her need for connection. He'd make it up with a movie night or a quick weekend getaway. But her patience thinned and her barbs cut deeper. Once, during a fight over his hours, she tossed out, Mike never made me feel like an afterthought. Mike, her ex of 4 years, lingered in her stories like a ghost. David let it slide, assuming it was just a name, not a threat. On a Tuesday, elbow deep in a kitchen remodel, David texted Lily at 5:30 p.m., stuck late again. Client wants new tiles. Home by 9. Her reply was instant. I see. Do what you want. I'll handle my night. He sighed, used her edge, picturing her ordering takeout and binging a Netflix series. The job dragged on. A fussy homeowner kept tweaking the backsplash design. By 8:15, as David waited for caulk to dry, his phone pinged again. A photo loaded slowly, and his stomach twisted. There was Lily at their dining table, the one David built for their first anniversary, grinning with a wine glass. Mike's arm draped over her shoulder, his smirk unmistakable. Plates of David's homemade lasagna sat between them, steam rising like a taunt. The caption read, Guess who stopped by? Miss when you look this good? David stared, pulse hammering. Mike, the ex she swore was history, was in his home, eating his food, with Lily beaming like she hadn't in months. The jab about his looks stung, but the betrayal burned hotter. He wanted to call, to shout, to demand answers. But something colder took over. Lily wanted a reaction, a fight to feed her drama. David wouldn't give it. He pocketed his phone, finished the job, and earned a $200 tip from the thrilled client. The cash fell hollow. His mind was already elsewhere, on locks, on boundaries, on reclaiming his space. Driving home, he stopped at a hardware store, grabbing new deadbolts and a doorbell camera. The clerk raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. David's jaw was set, his plan forming. At 10:45 p.m., he pulled into his condo's lot. Lily's Honda sat alone, no sign of Mike's car. The relief was fleeting. Inside, the air felt wrong. Dirty dishes cluttered the sink. 2 plates, 2 wine glasses, 2 forks. A tailored jacket, not David's, lay slung over the couch. He checked the bedroom. Lily slept alone, sprawled across their bed. The bathroom showed no trace of Mike. David exhaled, but the image of that photo seared his mind. He tossed Mike's jacket into the rainy front yard, unbothered by the drizzle. On the kitchen counter, he placed a typed 30-day eviction notice, legal and airtight. His condo, his name on the deed, gave him the right. Lily's 3 years here granted her tenant status under Florida law, but nothing more. David wasn't cruel. He'd give her the required time. But the photo, the caption, the audacity, that ended things. He set up a small recorder in the living room, bought for job sites, but now repurposed. Visible, legal, it would catch whatever came next. He crashed on the couch, the bedroom no longer his sanctuary. Tomorrow, Lily would face the consequences. David woke to the hum of his phone alarm at 6:30 a.m., sprawled on the living room couch, the eviction notice still sitting on the kitchen counter. His neck ached, but his resolve was ironclad. The photo of Lily and Mike, her ex, smirking in David's home, looped in his mind, fueling his focus. He brewed coffee, skipping breakfast, and checked the recorder he'd set up last night. Its red light blinked steadily, capturing the quiet condo. Today, he'd face Lily's reaction, and he was ready. At 7:45, Lily shuffled into the living room, rubbing her eyes, still in pajamas. She froze, spotting David on the couch instead of their bed. "Why didn't you sleep with me?" she asked, voice casual, as if the previous night's photo never happened. David sipped his coffee, meeting her gaze. "You know why." Her lips pursed, a familiar flash of annoyance crossing her face. "If this is about Mike, he just swung by to return a book I lent him months ago. We ate, talked, that's it." David set his mug down, pointing to the counter. "There's a notice for you. 30 days to move out." Lily's eyes darted to the paper, then back to him, widening in disbelief. "You're joking." David leaned forward, voice steady. "I'm not. You invited your ex into our home. Sent me that photo to twist the knife. We're done." Her face flushed, and she stormed to the counter, snatching the notice. "This is our place. You can't just kick me out." David stood, keeping his tone even. "My name's on the deed. You're a tenant, legally notified. 30 days. Lily's hand slammed the counter, the sound sharp in the morning stillness. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It was dinner, David." He stepped closer, pointing to the recorder on the shelf. "Everything's being recorded, visible, legal. You crossed the line." Lily's gaze flicked to the device, her voice rising. "You're spying on me? That's illegal." David shook his head. "My property, my rules. It's in plain sight." She paced, her hands tugging at her hair. 3 years, David. I've lived here, paid bills, made this place a home." He crossed his arms. "You should have thought of that before cozying up with Mike and texting me to rub it in." Lily's anger cracked, her voice dropping to a plea. "I was mad, okay? You're never here. I just wanted your attention." David's jaw tightened. "You got it. Now you've got 30 days. She lunged forward, grabbing a ceramic mug from the counter and hurling it at the wall. It shattered, shards skittering across the floor. "You're heartless," she screamed, tears streaming. David didn't flinch. "Clean that up before I'm back from work. We'll split shared stuff fairly, but you're leaving." He grabbed his keys and headed for the door, leaving her sobbing amid the mess. At the construction site, David threw himself into work, measuring planks for a client's deck. His phone stayed silent. No texts, no calls from Lily. He half expected her to blow it up with apologies or threats, but the quiet felt ominous. During a break, he called his buddy Carlos, a burly electrician who'd seen David through rough patches. "Need you to witness something soon," David said, explaining the eviction and Lily's outburst. Carlos agreed, promising to swing by if things escalated. David hung up, grateful for backup, but uneasy about Lily's next move. By evening, David returned to the condo, bracing for chaos. The mug shards were gone, the counter spotless, but Lily wasn't there. Her car was missing from the lot. A note on the fridge read, "Staying with Jess. Back for my things." David checked the recorder. Lily had left an hour after their fight, carrying a duffel bag, her face streaked with mascara. He saved the footage, then sat at the dining table, staring at the spot where Mike's arm had rested around her. The betrayal stung fresh, but he pushed it down, opening his laptop to research tenant laws. Florida was clear. 30 days was generous, and he'd followed every rule. Over the next week, Lily appeared sporadically, grabbing clothes or books while David was at work. The doorbell camera caught her each time, her movements rushed, her expression tight. David kept his distance, communicating only through texts about shared items. They'd bought a TV, a sofa, and some kitchen gear together, and he proposed splitting them based on who paid more. Lily agreed grudgingly, her replies curt. But David sensed she was stalling, leaving half her stuff behind as the days ticked by. He documented everything, snapping photos of her belongings still cluttering the closet. On day 10, his phone rang, a number he didn't know. "David, it's Mike." The voice was hesitant, awkward. David gripped the phone, standing in the site's dusty trailer. "What do you want?" Mike cleared his throat. "Look, Lily told me you two were on a break. Said you were done because of your work hours. I wouldn't have come over if I knew the truth." David's pulse quickened, but he kept his voice cold. "Doesn't change what you did. Or her." Mike sighed. "Fair. Just heads up, she's looking into tenant rights, talking about dragging this out. Thought you should know." David thanked him, surprised by the honesty, and hung up. The call shifted his strategy. That night, David met Carlos at the condo, and they cataloged Lily's remaining items. A blender, some art, her half of the sofa. Carlos hauled boxes while David labeled each one, snapping photos for proof. "She's playing games," Carlos said, taping a box shut. "You're doing this right, man." David nodded, but worry gnawed at him. Lily's photo had been a calculated jab. Would she really try to exploit legal loopholes? He double-checked the eviction notice, ensuring every detail was ironclad. The camera stayed on, recording every corner of the living room. By day 15, Lily texted, "Need more time to move. Can we talk?" David replied, "You have until day 30. Everything's boxed and ready." Her response was a single word, "Fine." The silence that followed felt like the calm before a storm. David kept working, kept documenting, kept the locks ready to change. Lily's betrayal had lit a fuse, and he wouldn't let her manipulation stretch this out. The condo was his, and so was his peace. He'd fight for both. Day 20 of the eviction notice dawned with David at a construction site, nailing trim for a client's patio overhaul. His phone stayed quiet, but tension coiled in his gut. Lily's sparse texts about picking up her things felt like a stall tactic, especially after Mike's warning about her tenant rights research. David double-checked his legal groundwork at lunch, confirming the notice complied with Florida's 30-day rule. He wasn't playing her game. Tonight, he'd push for clarity. Back at the condo, David found Lily's car in the lot at 6:15 p.m. The doorbell camera showed her slipping inside an hour earlier, alone. He entered, keys jangling, and spotted her in the kitchen, rifling through a box of her cookware. She froze, a spatula in hand, then forced a smile. "Just grabbing a few things," she said, voice light, as if the past weeks hadn't happened. David set his toolbox down, eyeing the half-empty box. "You've had 20 days. What's the holdup?" Her smile faltered. "It's hard, okay? Moving's a lot." David crossed his arms. "You've got 10 days left. Everything's packed, labeled, ready to go." Lily dropped the spatula, stepping closer. "Can we just talk? I messed up with Mike. It was stupid a moment. I'm sorry." Her voice cracked, eyes glistening, but David's resolve held firm. "You sent that photo to hurt me. No apology changes that." She flinched, then pivoted, her tone sharpening. "You can't force me out. I've got rights. I've lived here 3 years." He pointed to the recorder on the shelf, its lights steady. "I followed the law. My condo, My name on the deed. You're a tenant, and your time's up soon. Lily's gaze darted to the device, her hands clenching. You're recording me? That's low, David. He stepped past her, checking the boxes. It's legal, visible, and necessary. You've been stalling, and might tip me off about your tenant rights plan. Her jaw dropped, but she recovered fast. Mike's lying. He's just stirring trouble. David pulled out his phone, showing a screenshot of her text with Mike's photo. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Lily's face hardened, and she grabbed a box, shoving it toward the door. Fine, I'll take this now. But I'm not done here. She stormed out, the door slamming. David checked the camera footage. She'd taken one box, but left most behind. He texted Carlos. She's dodging. Might need you for the final day. Over the next week, Lily's visits grew erratic. The camera caught her sneaking in at odd hours, grabbing random items, a lamp, a stack of towels, but leaving the bulk of her stuff. David, working late on a client's rooftop deck, kept tabs via notifications. On day 25, he found a lawyer's letter slipped under the door, claiming Lily deserved 60 days as a cohabitant. David's blood boiled, but he'd anticipated this. He called his attorney, who confirmed the 30-day notice held up since Lily wasn't on the lease. She's bluffing, the lawyer said. Document everything. David doubled down, photographing every item in her boxes, from dishes to her yoga mat, and saved receipts proving he'd bought the big-ticket items alone. Carlos dropped by, helping stack the boxes neatly by the door. She's trying to wear you down, Carlos said, taping a carton shut. David nodded, checking the camera's battery. She won't. I'm ready for day 30. He texted Lily, your stuff's packed. Pick up by noon on the 30th, or it's donated. Her reply was a curt whatever. On day 29, David woke to a new alert. The camera showed Lily at 2 a.m., trying her old key. When it failed, she'd banged on the door, muttering curses before leaving. David's stomach churned. She was unraveling, and he braced for worse. He spent the day at work, installing a client's pergola, but his mind was on the deadline. That evening, he and Carlos moved Lily's boxes to the condo's entryway, ready for pickup. David left a signed agreement listing their split assets, TV to her, sofa to him, based on their prior texts. At midnight, his phone buzzed with a voicemail from Lily. David, please, let's fix this. I know I screwed up, but I love you. Her voice slurred, unsteady. David deleted it, unmoved. Her pleas felt like another ploy, not remorse. He checked the camera one last time, then slept on the couch, the new locks gleaming. Tomorrow, the 30th, would end this chapter. Lily's betrayal had sparked this fire, but David's calm resolve would douse it. He wasn't just reclaiming his condo. He was taking back his life. Day 30 arrived, the deadline for Lily's eviction. David woke at 5:45 a.m., checking the doorbell camera from his phone while still on the couch. No alerts overnight. Lily hadn't shown. Her boxes, neatly stacked by the condo's entryway, waited like a silent ultimatum. David showered, grabbed a protein bar, and headed to a client site to install custom shelving. His focus split between work and the looming pickup, expecting Lily to test his boundaries again. He texted Carlos, noon today. Can you be there? Carlos replied instantly, got your back. At 11:30 a.m., David returned to the condo, parking beside Carlos's truck. The camera showed Lily pulling up minutes earlier, her Honda idling in the lot. She stepped out with two others, her friend Jess and, to David's surprise, Mike. Carlos raised an eyebrow as David unlocked the door. Her ex is here? Bold move. David shrugged, keeping his cool. Let's just get this done. The boxes stood ready, each labeled with Lily's name, alongside a printed list of their agreed asset split. TV and blender to her, sofa and dining table to him. Lily entered first, her steps hesitant, Jess trailing close. Mike lingered by the door, hands in his pockets. David, can we make this quick? Lily asked, voice clipped. He nodded, gesturing to the boxes. Everything's here. Check the list, sign it, and load up. Jess scanned the paper, whispering to Lily, who sighed and grabbed a box. Mike stepped forward, lifting another, avoiding David's gaze. Carlos stood by the door, arms crossed, his presence a quiet deterrent. The air crackled with tension. Lily opened a box, inspecting her dishes, then shot David a look. "You didn't pack my books right. They could have been." David pointed to the camera. "I photographed everything before boxing. They're fine." Jess muttered something about overkill, but Lily waved her off, signing the asset list with a shaky hand. They moved boxes to her car, Carlos helping to keep things civil. David watched, noting Mike's silence. Guilt or discomfort, he couldn't tell. Halfway through, Lily paused, clutching a lamp they'd bought together. "This was our first purchase," she said softly, eyes locking on David's. "Does that mean nothing?" He kept his tone steady. "It meant something until you invited Mike here and sent that photo." Her lips trembled, but she set the lamp in her car without another word. Mike cleared his throat. "I told you, man. I thought you two were done." David cut him off. "Save it. Just load the boxes." Mike nodded, grabbing another carton. By 1:15 p.m., the car was packed. Jess hugged Lily, whispering encouragement, while Mike loaded the last box, a set of curtains Lily had picked out. David handed her the signed asset list. "We're square. You've got everything owed." Lily stared at the paper, then at him. "You're really ending us like this? 3 years gone?" David stepped back. "You ended it with that dinner. I'm just closing the door." She bit her lip, eyes welling, but turned away, climbing in her car with Jess. Mike followed, driving off without a glance. David and Carlos stood in the now empty entryway. "Think she'll pull something else?" Carlos asked, cracking his knuckles. David shook his head. "She's out of moves. I've got the footage, the receipts, the notice, all legal." They locked up, and David felt a weight lift, though a hollow ache lingered. He spent the afternoon at work, finishing the shelving job, the client's praise barely registering. His condo was his again, but the victory felt bittersweet. That night, David's phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Lily's saying you threw her out with nothing." It was a mutual friend, fishing for gossip. David replied, "She got 30 days, her stuff, and half her shared assets. Check the facts." He attached the photo Lily sent with Mike, letting it speak for itself. The friend didn't respond. David deleted the thread, done with the drama. The camera stayed on, a precaution against surprises. Over the next days, Lily's absence settled in. David worked late, refinishing a client's bar counter, but the condo felt quieter, emptier. He boxed up shared memories, a photo frame, a coffee mug, and stored them in a closet. On day 35, a neighbor mentioned seeing Lily's car nearby, but the camera showed nothing. David tightened security, programming the locks to a new code. Mike's call about her tenant rights ploy echoed in his mind, but no legal papers arrived. His lawyer confirmed she's got no case. David leaned on Carlos, who helped repaint the living room a crisp white, erasing traces of Lily's presence. "You did right," Carlos said, rolling paint. "She played dirty, you played smart." David nodded, but doubts crept in. Had he been too harsh? The photo flashed in his mind, her smile, Mike's arm, and his resolve hardened. Lily had gambled on his forgiveness and lost. Now, David faced the final stretch, rebuilding his life, free of her shadow, with the camera still watching for her next move. The night after Lily's final move out, David sat in his Miami condo, the silence both freeing and heavy. At 9:30 p.m., the doorbell camera pinged. His phone screen showed Lily outside, alone, swaying slightly, her voice slurring through the speaker. "David, let me in. I messed up. Nothing happened with Mike, I swear." She pounded the door, her knocks erratic, desperate. David watched, heart racing but unmoved. She'd chosen this path with that photo, and he wouldn't open the door, literally or emotionally. Lily's pleas grew louder, her fists thudding against the wood. "I just want to make you jealous, not lose you." David muted the audio, letting the camera record. Neighbors' lights flicked on, and soon Mrs. Alvarez from next door appeared on the feed. "Lily, it's late. People are sleeping. You need to go," she said firmly. Lily begged, voice cracking, but Mrs. Alvarez held her ground. "Come back sober, or I'll call the police." After 20 minutes of sobbing and banging, Lily stumbled to a rideshare car and left. David exhaled, saving the footage as evidence. By morning, his phone buzzed with texts from mutual friends. Lily had spun a tale. David had locked her out mid-workday, leaving her homeless. He responded to a trusted few, attaching her photo with Mike and the eviction timeline. 30 days, legal notice, her stuff packed, and split fairly, he wrote. Some believed him. Others sided with Lily, calling his actions cold. David let the skeptics go. Truth didn't need their approval. He blocked Lily's number, cutting off her late-night voicemails. Days turned to weeks. David threw himself into work, installing a client's outdoor kitchen, his hammer's rhythm grounding him. The condo felt like his again, free of Lily's lingering presence. He and Carlos swapped out the old dining table for a sleek new one, a symbol of a fresh start. Gossip faded, but David stayed vigilant, keeping the camera active. Lily's threat of tenant rights never materialized. His lawyer confirmed she had no legal ground. Still, her attempt to manipulate their circle left a bitter aftertaste. 3 months later, David met Sophia at a job site. A landscape designer, she was sketching a client's garden layout when David arrived to build a pergola. Their banter over soil types and wood stains sparked an instant connection. Sophia, 30, was direct, her passion for creating outdoor spaces matching David's drive. They grabbed coffee, then dinners, moving slowly but steadily. Unlike Lily, Sophia respected his long hours, sharing stories of her own demanding projects. David felt a spark he hadn't known in years. At a beachfront restaurant 6 months post-eviction, David spotted Lily across the room, sitting with Mike. She avoided his gaze, but Mike offered a stiff nod. David returned it, then turned back to Sophia, who was mid-story about a tricky palm tree install. The encounter passed without drama, a quiet victory. David learned later, through a friend, that Lily and Mike's relationship imploded at a wedding. Lily, drunk, had thrown a drink at Mike over a flirtation, earning her an escort out. Her chaos no longer touched David's life. A year after the eviction, David and Sophia moved in together. She brought plants and sketches, filling the condo with warmth. They planned a joint home purchase, eyeing a fixer-upper to blend their skills. David's business thrived. He hired 2 crew members, easing his workload. Late-night texts from Lily trickled in, always when her life with Mike hit rough patches. "I've changed," she'd write. David deleted them unanswered, his peace hard-earned. One evening, Sophia found the saved footage of Lily's doorstep meltdown. "She really thought she could guilt you back," Sophia said, shaking her head. David nodded, closing the laptop. "She gambled on me caving. I chose myself instead." Sophia squeezed his hand, her smile steady. They cooked dinner together, the new table a quiet testament to his rebuilt life. Lily's photo, once a gut punch, was now just a file, buried in a folder he'd never reopened. David's new locks had done more than secure his condo. They'd guarded his self-respect. Lily faced her consequences, not through vengeance, but through David's refusal to play her games. As he and Sophia laughed over a shared plate of tacos, he knew the real win wasn't proving her wrong. It was building a life where her betrayal no longer mattered.